So excited to be here. And V-Lynn, great to see you again. It's always great to see you. How are you?
Well, thank you. I am doing very well, thank you. It's always so great to see you as well. I love playing here with you and with all that we've got going on, all that's coming up. And it's just amazing how things are rolling through, even with the full moon right now.
Is it a full moon? I got to tell you. And do we have some things going on? Do we have some things going on? Oh my gosh, we've got well, actually our summit that we're doing, the Vegan Visibility Summit. We're working with clients, helping them to launch summits and podcast shows and just some amazing stuff. We're working with a client that is launching a book, and it's just really all about visibility. And that's what we're going to
Yeah.
talk about today is how do you get the visibility in the media. We're going to talk about publicity because a lot of people actually they don't know how to get the right kind of publicity. They might send a media release out, they get no response, and they go, well, this obviously doesn't work. During the summit, we actually have some amazing expert, Katrina Fox. We have Jana Short, who has a magazine, an online magazine, and a physical magazine with a distribution list of nearly 1 million that she built in 3 years. And she shared from an editor's, or she will share from an editor's perspective of what you need to do to get your media releases noticed, because many people, they throw mud on the wall, they hope something sticks. I was going to say throw egg on the wall, but we don't throw eggs, we don't do anything
Spaghetti
but
or
let the
mud.
chicken.
Okay.
Absolutely, I'm not going to go there, but let's first of all welcome everybody to the live stream, and let's talk about what publicity means, why it's valuable, and why publicity is more valuable than paid advertising. So let's start with that, V-Lynn.
Well, Kathleen, that is a great entry into this subject matter because I am really intrigued and really looking forward to jumping into Janice Short's session about getting into magazines. I want to find out how you do that. And in doing so, I know that there are many vegan business owners and other entrepreneurs who want to know, how do I get into a magazine? How do I get on the cover? How do I get a spread in the center? How do I even get an ad in a newspaper or a magazine, especially something that has the visibility of more, nearly 1 million people. And, to find out that you got a viewership like that, the next question is, well, how engaged are they? Well, it turns out Janice's community is very engaged. And I am looking forward to personally learning some of the things that she's going to be sharing with us, some of the challenges, some of the solutions that she's worked through. And to do what she's done in 3 years, Kathleen, wouldn't you want to know what she did?
Absolutely. I want to know what she did because I've been in broadcast media for about 35 years now. And yet I know that there are people who have just really targeted and laser beamed strategies that if I pay attention, I can escalate what I'm doing already. And for somebody brand new to this, I know that Jana and Katrina and Stephanie Red Cross West, they break it down into very understandable terms where a lot of
Yeah.
people get really intimidated by the media, by technology, by whatever it may be. And what I love about the experts who are going to be sharing with the summit is that they really put it into, you do step 1, you do step 2, you do step 3, and you rinse and repeat, because a lot of times people will try something once and they don't get the result they think they should get. We're an instant gratification society, and that is working against us. And it's really about planning things out, having a long-term view of where you're going to go, what you need to do each and every day. So with publicity, one of the main things that you want to do, and I know this from my own experience, but in talking with people like Katrina and Jana and Stephanie and the experts that we have, is that you want to really understand the media that you're reaching out to. You don't want to just throw out a media release and say, oh, will you publish this? Because the answer is probably going to be no, 99.9% of the time. If you, on the other hand, understand the media, then you actually are able to do a targeted approach. And it's one thing to send out media releases to 100 publications. It's another thing, and you just kind of do the spray and pray method, as I've heard. I think it was Katrina say that, the spray and pray, and you might get some result. It's going to be lukewarm, or you can have a really targeted approach and pick and maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 publications or media sources that you're really going to study them. You're going to understand them. You're going to find out about the editor. You're going to find out about the publisher. What kind of stories do they put in? And then you go from that approach, because it's much more personable, it's much more targeted, and it's more about collaboration. Just
Yeah.
today, we had an article that we did published in a vegan publication. And this is something that's really interesting. I have talked to people that say, oh, I got this person that wanted me to write an article, and I'm just too busy for that. And it's like, really? If
Hmm.
it's a targeted publication, why would you be too busy? Because if they have, let's say, we'll use just real simple numbers, 1,000 people who read, let's say, a blog, and they want you to write for their blog, those are 1,000 potential leads that you can get, or 1,000 people who will learn more about what you're doing. And oftentimes what entrepreneurs do is they take an uphill climb. They try to do everything themselves. They spin their wheels, and they waste their time on tasks and not even projects, but tasks that really are not going to get them a result. Myself, I would rather reach out to 10 people. That's what we've done with the summit. We have altogether 13 experts. That's myself and you and 11 other experts who all are sharing the information about the summit. So we're not just getting 10x results, we're getting 13x results on what we're doing. And this is something I encourage people to look at with publicity. You want to, first of all, identify who is it that you're trying to reach, and where do these people reside. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Vlyn.
Well, great segue into what I was going to add, which is, think about it. We were talking about leadership and the styles of leadership, and the fact that we are now in a new 5.0 leadership model of trust and inspire, and where we think about, leadership as, our team, and maybe even reaching out and including our collaborators, which media and publicity, those are our collaborative partners. Those are people who we want to bring into this space of leadership, shared leadership. And it's really all about relationship. We got into the magazine because we have a relationship with the magazine editor, and she reached out and said, hey, you got an article? It's like, yes. And my thing was, can we do this on a consistent basis, thus building an even greater, stronger, deeper relationship? And we're in a time now where relationship is key. With the summit that we're doing, I would expect that each of our experts is going to be talking about relationship and collaboration, and expanding. How do you easily expand your circle of influence? And that is by connecting with others, like minded, not competition, but collaboration, where each of you has something to offer. And that's what I love about the work that we do, Kathleen, with the Vegan Visibility Productions. All of our efforts are around building collaborations, collaborative events, collaborative opportunities for experts to participate. And the summit is just one of those.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm so excited about what we have planned for the future. I mean, 2023 is going to be a crazy, amazing year for us, in a great way, crazy. And there's just so many things that we have planned and going on, and we have other summits that we're doing. We have live events we're doing, and we have partnerships going on. And I want to share 4 different ways that you can actually 10x your reach. And one is to get on podcast shows. I'm the host of 2 podcast shows. You're the host of a podcast show. We both go on podcast shows. And it's interesting because you reach a point where people start reaching out to you to be on their show, where initially it's, again, an uphill climb to get on shows. And usually it's because people don't do their research around a show. So podcast shows are a great way to get the media coverage. And what's really amazing about being on podcast shows is that when you're showcased, there are journalists, there are media folk that are, isn't that down home? Media folk. There are people that are watching and listening to the podcast. And if you give a great interview with high value, it's not about pitching, it's about high value to the audience. Oftentimes, the media will reach out to you, or another host will reach out to you and say, would you be on my show? Now, with podcasts, what you want to do is you want to make sure you research the podcast show. For example, with mine, I have a line in the sand that I do not cross. It's you must be 100% void of all animal and dairy in your food consumption. Bottom line, there's no exception to that rule. And I've had people who have come to me and they say, oh, I love your show. I listen all the time and I would like to be on your show. And I say, well, are you 100% void of animal and dairy? That's kind of my first question. And if they would put that in their message, we could save a lot of time. And they're like, well, I'm 90 to 95% of the way there. I still eat cheese. And it's like, you obviously have not listened to my show. You obviously have not read the description, and you've just wasted your time and you've wasted the host time. So do your homework because you'll get a lot further. Now, granted, it takes time up front, but that time up front will get you, it'll reap rewards on the back end. Another thing is writing articles, like you mentioned, for the vegan publication that we wrote for. We made sure to deliver on time. That's a big thing. You want to deliver on time. You want to make sure that the editor knows that you're on top of it. You want to stay in within the word count. If they say 750 words, then it's 750 words. I used to write for the Business Journal when I lived in Utah. It was the Utah Business Journal, and it's syndicated throughout the United States. You make it into one, you might make it into others. And the editor was very clear with me. 750 words is what we want, including your byline. And I'm like, okay. And every month I delivered an article. It was exactly 750 words. And some people think, well, I'll just squeeze in another 50 words. In some cases, especially print media, they have a certain amount of space that they allot. So that's another one. Blogs, write for blogs. And the thing about blogs is do your research on blogs. I have people who approach me to write for my blog, and I don't have guest writers. Rarely do I have guest writers. Well, if a blog owner does not have guest writers, you don't need to approach them. Find the ones that do have guest writers and know who their audience is and be prepared. The next one would be magazines. You've got virtual magazines and you've got physical magazines. So there's a few ways that you can actually enhance your visibility. So what else can you recommend, V-Lynn?
Well, I want to recommend 2 things. One is about announcements. Many of us have events going on. And we're on Facebook and we've got a Facebook event and we are on Eventbrite and maybe LinkedIn events, but that's all well and good. And you want to do that, whether you're local or global, because you're in the virtual space. You also want to have some of this print media or other digital media sources to have your event information. And those announcements going out to those media outlets are also very valuable. And another thing that I just really stumbled over the past few weeks is that there are a lot of publications who are looking for recipes. And in the vegan world, how many vegan recipes have you seen? Well, do you think you might be able to submit a recipe to get in there as well? And if you're in the nutrition space, if you are a health coach or something like that, this is one of the sources. This is a great media outlet for you to put a recipe in one of those magazines, and one of those digital magazines, print magazines. They're always looking for those good, yummy, no salt, oil, or sugar is our thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really, there's 2 other things to consider.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head with something. I think of my dear friend Felicia Slattery, who is an amazing chef, and she became plant-based, got rid of all animal and dairy, and started posting some recipes, and actually got approached by a publisher to do a cookbook of all things. And so she did one. She loves using crock pots, so she did 101 recipes for crock pots, plant-based menus, and then from there it was the what's the other one? Not the crock pot, but the one that pressure
Uh-oh.
cooks in no time at all. I can't think of the name of it,
Uh,
but she did a second book. And I mean, this just like put her on the map within the plant-based industry. So there's all sorts of wonderful things that can come out of just starting every day to look for those publicity opportunities and to realize that you may not, it's not necessarily a tit for tat. It may be that you submit, and you're getting some traction. And then all of a sudden it blows up in a good way where you're just going, oh my gosh, I'm being seen everywhere. And then when people start saying, I'm seeing you everywhere, you know that you've done it right. So
mhm.
it does take consistency. It does take persistence. And I see we've got people that are watching the live right now. Would love you to put some comments in the comment area. Hopefully we can see those comments. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Awesome. I love the fact that we have these opportunities. Media is one of the biggest ways to get out there amongst those who you do not know. A lot of times, you talked about being consistent. We are consistent with those who know us, but are we consistent in the areas where people do not know us? Thus getting us the recognition to bring them into that sphere of influence of knowing us. And we all know that it's the know, like, and trust factor that really brings the bigger opportunities. But even more than that, Kathleen, when you are reaching into the spaces where you would not normally be, it's a stretch. It's a stretch of the mind, the heart, the auric energy that we move in, but that is also how we reach the people who are looking for us. So be consistent in going beyond the norm. And if you're playing on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and Twitter, um, I don't know what's happening with Twitter right now with all of the energy that's going on over there. But think about, where can I play that I haven't played before? And one of my mentors a long time ago told me that if you aren't getting the traction in the playground that you're playing, you may need to move, go make some new friends. And that was very inspiring for me, because it was like, okay, where I was at the time was saturated with people doing the same thing I was doing. I went 20 minutes farther out of that local area and started to market what I was doing there. Traction picked up immediately, because while areas are kind of secluded
Mhm.
and separated in themselves, if you go that extra and make that extra effort, it actually pays off, and it can pay off pretty quickly.
Well, I'm so in agreement with what you're saying. And I think that a lot of people have gotten into a comfort zone where they're very secure in what they think they're secure in what they're doing, and they're playing safe. And my feeling is quit playing small, get sweaty palms. If you're not sweaty palmed, you're not playing big enough. That just has always been a philosophy of mine. And I find that sometimes we get very comfortable. And with the pandemic and all the shutdowns, a lot of people got really comfortable, sitting behind the computer, which is a great thing if you're using it to your advantage and to the advantage of your market. The whole idea with publicity is not about ego. It's not about, oh, look how wonderful I am. For most people, for some people, it might be. However, for most people, especially in the vegan and the plant-based space, we really want to raise the awareness so that we can help the animals, we can help other people with their health and our own health, we can help the environment. Right now, the world is kind of like upside down with the weather patterns patterns that are going on with abuse to animals through factory farming, through people being unhealthy, and diseases that actually are preventable. A lot of people have surrendered themselves and given up and said, well, there's nothing I can do. There is something you can do. And if
Yes.
you're an expert, let's say you're a nutritionist, and you really want to help people, why in the world would you not play full out? Why in the world would you not do everything in your power to get your message in the media so other people can find you? Really, you're going to make your job a lot easier if you focus a portion of your marketing time on the media. And I encourage you to sign up for the summit on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of November, which is coming up very shortly. You actually can view all of the training for absolutely nothing but your time. 100% free. We do have an upgrade if you'd like to do that. And with that, you get a lot of bonus gifts and you get some private training with V-Lynn and myself. But if you want to just watch the sessions and learn from people like Stephanie Red Cross West, who's talking about live streaming, Jonna Short, who has the media outreach to nearly 1 million people with her magazine. She's going to talk about what editors look for. Katrina Fox, who is talking about publicity. How do you get publicity? How do you write a good media release? We have Matali, who is the vegan publisher. She's going to talk about, is a book in your future? Is that a smart move, or is it something maybe you shouldn't be doing? We have Will Saunders, who is talking about branding. I mean, the guy is brilliant, off the charts. And what's really exciting is they're all vegans. This is a very unique event in that it is vegan, by vegans, for vegans. And so even if you're not a vegan, please join in, because the strategies are universal strategies. It's just that most of us focus on the vegan market. So with that, V-Lynn, any final thoughts?
Well, my final thought would be in this space of veganism. And I know that a lot of people know and, are just very connected to the concept of veganism. But I also know that veganism had gotten there was a stigma around veganism. And there are a lot of people who just do not understand what veganism is all about. They think it is animal activism, and animal activism that is confrontational. And it makes me understand much better the passion by which some people express the fact that they want to get attention around the harm that's being done to animals. And by the same token, it's about compassion. It's about, you want this attention, but you want these animals who are mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers to also live the lives that they were born into. And, there's the planet. We all, those of us who are living today that don't understand the harm that we're doing to the planet and can't put a piece of trash in the trash can, but rather would just flick it out in the street or in the park. I mean, I have to wonder what level of compassion they have for themselves, because compassion starts with self. And then it goes out to others. And these business owners that are bringing this information to you, you'll be able to see the compassion that they have, not just for themselves, but for those that they're expressing their messages to, those that they have a heart and want to serve. Bringing this training to you means a lot to them. And we want you to be there with us. Share in what you can do, what you can glean to do in your business, and consider the fact that all of our businesses are bigger than we are. And what does that mean to you? What does that mean for you?
I do have one more tip. I thought about this and how a lot of times people miss opportunities because they might watch the news, they might watch social media, what's going on, what's trending, and yet they comment on it to themselves or to their family or to their friends, but they don't take advantage of it. For example, recently in the media, due to what's going on politically, people who have had strokes, big topic. There is somebody that wrote a book called Stroke Forward, Marsha Moran. She actually had a stroke about 7 years ago now. And in that time, not only has she learned how to talk again, she couldn't talk for about, I think it was a year or two. She now talks very, very clearly. She had a hard time walking. She really got impacted by the stroke, but she was darned and determined to get to the other side of it, and wrote a book called Stroke Forward. She said in the beginning, when she was writing the book, it could take her a day to write a paragraph because it just wasn't connecting. Now she just writes on a regular basis. And for somebody who wrote a book about having a stroke, recovering from a stroke, what family members can look for and do for the person who had the stroke, what a perfect opportunity with all that's going on in the media to simply reach out to journalists and say, I saw your article on such and such, or I saw your post on such and such. I happen to be the author of Stroke Forward. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. Well, they may want to reach out to her to comment on stories that are going on. It could be another very dear friend of mine who has written a book about women in the priesthood. If there's anything going on with the Catholic Church, that would be the time for Margaret Mary O'Connor to reach out to those journalists, those media sources, and say, I'm the author of Scandal in the Shadows. So whatever it is that you are an expert at, when you see something that's trending, when you see something that's really, be willing to reach out and just say, if I can be a source of information for you, if you need comments from an expert, I'm available. And basically what you want to do, you want to be of service. So I wanted to share that thought. And
Great, great.
yeah,
Another really good connection to the whole relationships.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, V-Lynn, I just so appreciate all that you're doing. And I'm having so much fun creating all these wonderful events and experiences with you. And I do encourage people to sign up for the summit. It's absolutely free for the 3 days. When we're launching, you can enjoy 13 experts that will give you take it to the bank kind of
Yes,
information. We're not
yes.
holding back. This is real information. It's not a pitch fest. It really is about you getting the value so that you, as a vegan business owner or a soon to be vegan business owner, can raise awareness about your products, services, and what you're doing in the world. So in closing, V-Lynn, what are your final thoughts?
Well, Kathleen, we all want to make a bigger impact in the world, a bigger positive impact. And one of the ways to do that is getting seen in the media. So I love the fact that we have a couple of experts in that area that are coming to the summit, that are going to be a part of the summit. And I just encourage everybody to, think about ways that you might be able to get into the media. And I know something will come to you, but come to the summit, focus on those experts and what it is that they have to share, and then take it in and take it back and say, what can I use from this to help grow my business? And then stay connected. Each of our experts is going to give you information about how you can connect with them. Stay connected, get connected, stay connected.
Absolutely. And you never know. We have many more summits planned. And if you're visible enough and we see your expertise, who knows? You might get invited into our summit. Imagine what that would do for your visibility. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility Summit. And I'm here with V-Lynn Hawkins, also a Vegan Visibility Summit and Vegan Visibility. Boy, that's a mouthful. Vegan Visibility Productions. And just thanking you for your time. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye for now. Thanks.